The afternoon sun blazed over the crowded streets of Manila, turning the asphalt into a mirror of heat. Jeepneys rumbled past, their colorful exteriors flashing like moving art. Street vendors shouted their daily chants, Isa, Balut, Tahoe, each voice adding to the city's chaotic melody. Amid the noise and bustle, a young boy stood on a corner of Quiapo, clutching a battered microphone connected to a small, crackling speaker. His clothes were faded, his slippers worn thin, but when he began to sing, the entire street seemed to pause. His voice, pure, soulful, and filled with longing, rose above the noise of the city. It was the kind of voice that could silence a crowd, one that carried both pain and hope. Pedestrians slowed their steps, tricycle drivers turned down their radios, and even the vendors momentarily stopped calling out their wares. A small crowd gathered, forming a loose circle around him. Some took out their phones to record, others simply watched in awe. Coins clinked into an old cap placed at his feet, but he didn't seem to notice. His eyes were closed, lost in the song, as if every note was a prayer whispered to the heavens. Nearby, an old man murmured, saying Kung Hindi, to Mapansin. Ang galing ing batang, yan. What a waste if no one notices this boy. He's incredible. When the song ended, the street erupted in applause. The boy smiled shyly, bowing his head in thanks. He didn't know it yet, but one of those phones recording him that day would soon change his life forever, carrying his voice from the streets of Manila to the biggest stage in the world. That same night, as the Manila skyline flickered with city lights, a young woman sat on her small apartment balcony scrolling through her phone. She paused at a video labeled, Street Boy with a Voice Like an Angel. Curious, she tapped play. The shaky clip showed the boy from Quiapo, standing barefoot by the roadside, singing with all his heart while jeepneys passed behind him. Within seconds, she was mesmerized. The raw emotion in his voice, the innocence on his face, it was impossible to ignore. Without thinking twice, she shared the video with the caption, "This kid deserves the world. Someone find him." By morning, the post had exploded. Thousands of shares, hundreds of thousands of likes, and comments flooding in from around the globe. Who is he? This made me cry. Get him on America's Got Talent. Influencers, news outlets, and celebrities picked it up, reposting and tagging talent scouts. In just 24 hours, the boy's face and voice were everywhere, from Facebook timelines in Manila to TikTok feeds in Los Angeles. Hashtags like hashtag #ManilaStreetsinger and hashtag #GoldenVoice from the streets began trending worldwide. Back in Quiapo, the boy had no idea. He was still singing in the same corner, his cap filling with coins and small bills. But people were now recognizing him, pointing, smiling, taking photos. Ikaw, young NASA Facebook. You're the one on Facebook, they said excitedly. When his mother arrived later that day, breathless from work, she showed him her phone. The screen glowed with the video, his own face, his own voice, and millions of views beside it. He stared in disbelief. Somewhere across the ocean, an email was already being drafted. The subject line read, Invitation. America's Got Talent audition. A few weeks later, the boy stood at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, clutching a small backpack in his mother's hand. It was his first time seeing an airplane up close, a massive, gleaming bird ready to take him somewhere he had only seen on television. Around them, travelers hurried through the terminal, but to him, everything felt like a dream. The invitation from America's Got Talent had arrived only days after his video went viral. At first, he thought it was a prank. But when producers called directly, his mother's tears confirmed it was real. With help from local sponsors and donations raised by supporters online, they secured passports, visas, and plane tickets, things they never imagined owning. As the plane took off, the boy pressed his face to the window, watching the lights of Manila shrink beneath the clouds. His mother whispered, Anik, whatever happens, remember, you're already a winner. He nodded silently, the hum of the engines mixing with the pounding of his heart. When they landed in Los Angeles, the air felt different, cooler, lighter, full of possibilities. Volunteers from the show greeted them warmly, holding signs with his name. Cameras followed as he stepped outside, capturing every reaction. The boy looked up at the towering buildings, the giant billboards, the American flags fluttering in the wind. That night, Inside the hotel room provided by the show, he practiced in front of a mirror, microphone in hand. His mother sat on the bed, smiling proudly. On the table lay the official AGT badge, contestant number 3471. He took a deep breath, stared at his reflection, and whispered to himself. This is it, from the streets to the stage. Tomorrow, he would sing for the world. The stage lights of America's Got Talent burned brighter than anything he had ever seen. As he stood behind the curtain, he could hear the thunder of applause for the act before him, dancers spinning, judges laughing, the crowd roaring. Then, a staff member signaled. It was his turn. He took one deep breath, clutching his microphone like it was a lifeline. His mother squeezed his shoulder, whispering, "Kaya mo, yan, anak. You can do it, my child." When he stepped into the spotlight, the vast audience seemed endless. The judges, Simon, Sophia, Heidi, and Howie, sat in front of him, their faces curious. Simon leaned forward. "What's your name, and where are you from?" The boy swallowed hard and replied softly, "My name is Jaden, and I'm from Manila, Philippines." "Wow," said Sofia Vergara. "What made you want to audition for America's Got Talent?" Jaden smiled shyly. "I used to sing on the streets to help my family. I never thought I'd be here. But music is my dream." The audience erupted in supportive cheers. The music began, a soft piano intro to "You Raise Me Up." His voice started quietly, trembling at first, but with each verse, it grew stronger, clearer, soaring through the theater. People began to stand, chairs glistening under the lights. By the final note, the entire audience was on their feet. The sound of their applause filled the hall like thunder. Jaden stood frozen, tears streaming down his face, overwhelmed. Simon pressed his hands together and said softly, "That was pure magic." Before Jaden could respond, one of the judges stood up, eyes glistening, and reached for the golden buzzer. The world seemed to slow down. Jaden blinked in disbelief as Sofia Vergara stood up, her eyes shining with emotion. "You remind us," she said through the microphone, her voice trembling, "that dreams can come from anywhere, even from the streets of Manila." Then she slammed her hand down on the golden buzzer. For a heartbeat, there was silence, and then, an explosion of gold. Confetti burst from the ceiling, swirling around Jaden like a shower of stars. The crowd erupted, screaming, clapping, crying. Jaden dropped to his knees, hands over his face as tears spilled freely. His mother rushed from backstage, running barefoot onto the glittered stage. She wrapped him in her arms, both of them sobbing as the music swelled. The judges stood in ovation. Simon wiped his eyes, smiling. "That," he said, "was a moment I'll never forget. You didn't just sing, you told your story." Jaden looked out at the audience, still trembling. He could see people waving Philippine flags, cheering his name. "Jaden, Jaden, Jaden," they chanted, their voices echoing through the theater like a victory anthem. Back home in Manila, the moment was being streamed live. Neighbors crowded around small TV screens, screaming with joy as gold confetti filled the screen. The same corner where Jaden once sang for coins now roared with celebration. As the lights dimmed and the confetti settled, Jaden looked up, whispering a quiet prayer of thanks. From the streets of Manila to the grandest stage in the world, his voice had carried him farther than he ever dreamed. And in that golden moment, the boy who once sang for survival had become a symbol of hope for millions.